Bertha Russell had no idea how much her intentions to get Gladys married to the Duke would ruin her life. You might believe that this conclusion has peaked too soon, considering that George almost dies at the beginning of the Gilded Age Season 3, Episode 8. But as we wrap up a successful season, every significant story point develops at a dizzying rate, providing us with lots to discuss. Since George's railway agreement is still in jeopardy, the season-ending Newport ball must go ahead to avoid giving the impression that something is amiss. George has a good sense of who wants him dead, even though the shooter is still unidentified. With Larry and Marian still arguing over who is to blame, the Russells also have wounded hearts to heal. When Peggy's relationship with Dr. William Kirkland, whose late visit to 61st Street at the end of the penultimate episode turns out to be a case of good timing, is threatened by her past, Peggy is similarly upset. There are concerns about whose relationships will still be intact when the HBO series returns for its 4th season after such a spectacular and dramatic year-end. Surgery in an emergency. The episode abruptly reveals that George was shot during the ambush at his office after holding us in suspense. He is brought home and put out on the dining table rather than being rushed to a hospital because emergency medicine is still in its infancy. Fortunately, Bannister notices the disturbance and informs Bertha that Peggy is being visited by a doctor. William acts quickly, and Marian brings his little medical supplies to the Russell residence. With Marian climbing onto the table to apply pressure after William gives her instructions to help stop the bleeding, it's all hands on deck. It's a really strong motion that shows no hesitation. In a room that has seen more dinners than bloodshed, William, who has witnessed numerous gunshot wounds, starts operating on George. George is shocked even though he manages to extract the entire bullet. In tears, Bertha tells William that he must save her husband. George is stable the following morning, but he is still at risk of infection from his wound. Logan, played by Dylan Baker, the Russells' doctor, eventually shows there and explains that he was delayed because he had to deliver twins, one of whom was breech. Before realizing that William is the reason George is still alive, Dr. Logan treats William in an extremely harsh manner. Since they are not calling the police because of the ongoing business agreement, Bertha asks William to keep the shooting a secret. He gets a sizable payout for his labor later in the episode. Larry, who just got the word about the shooting this morning, jumps in. After the situation has subsided, Larry thanks Marian for saving his father's life after noticing the blood on her robe. It may appear that this is the ideal time for the two to get back together. Jack has supported Larry's account of what happened at the Haymarket, so Marian accepts it, but this poses even another concern. Larry is not at all happy that she didn't trust him without confirmation, and his thoughts are currently too clouded by the news to handle their ongoing problems. Only Gladys is enjoying love bliss among the Russells. She is happy living at Sidmouth despite being concerned about her father's health, especially since Lady Sarah won't be there when they return. Gladys is thrilled to find Adelheid, the newly fired lady's maid, waiting for her when they get to Newport. Bertha wants to cancel the ball, so it might appear like they've come all this way for nothing. But George needs the celebrations to go on so that it looks like nothing is wrong. George also makes it apparent that the main suspect in the assassination attempt is Richard Clay. Peggy's disappointed astonishment. When Peggy informs her mother that William saved George's life, she is ecstatic. However, the main question is why William was there so late and why he was so excited to see her in Brooklyn that morning. They believe it could be a proposal because of the sudden change from giddiness to tears. William's mother heard a lot of gossip, and Peggy fills in the many gaps. She says she needed to get the strength to tell William because it has taken her a long time to forgive her father. William says he has to go for a stroll to reflect after hearing the entire story. There is little doubt that it has made his mother's case against their connection stronger. Peggy is distraught because it is exactly what Elizabeth wanted. When Peggy tells her mother what happened, she can hardly speak through tears. "You are a worthy husband who understands, extends grace, and loves you no matter what," Dorothy adds. It has undoubtedly strengthened his mother's argument against their relationship. Since it is exactly what Elizabeth desired, Peggy is upset. Peggy is sobbing uncontrollably as she tells her mother what happened. "You are a worthy husband who understands, extends grace, and loves you no matter what," Dorothy continues. It's fortunate that Elizabeth stops by to offer some smug words of delight when Peggy skips her dress fitting in Newport for the ball with her mother and Athena. Dorothy doesn't mince words when she tells Elizabeth that her behavior lacks politeness and grace. Dorothy makes sure Elizabeth is aware that the Scotts will still be attending the party, so it's a satisfying dressing down.